The leaves of the tree are for healing.
Shalom, everybody. So somebody asked me in the comment section on one of my videos about this video here, and it's called Proof Meditation is Dangerous and Demonic, The Shocking Truth. Of course, it's from a Christian channel. And so they wanted my opinion on it because, of course, I talk about meditation on my channel. And, a few years ago when I was afraid of things, I might have been more into watching something like this myself, but I have moved past those fears. And so now I just really can't even gather up the will to watch the entire thing here because it's basically all fear based. But he is discussing actual studies. And so I wanted to talk about that and my perspective. And so on the screen here, you see the varieties of contemplative experience, a mixed method study of meditation related challenges in Western Buddhists. And he goes through these people, the study is talking about these people who have actually meditated for a long period of time, years and years and years. And then it discusses the negative effects that have happened. I guess what some people would call negative effects. Here it's saying like lifetime meditation hours. We're talking about, 1,000 to 5,000 hours, or 5,000 to 10,000 hours, or greater than 10,000 hours. That's the majority of the people being studied here. And then this is some of the actual issues that were coming up with people, things that were reported. And so 47% reported delusional, irrational, or paranormal beliefs. Scientifically, what scientists would call paranormal is actually probably reality, in my opinion. What they would call delusional, again, I would call probably reality in some cases. It depends on what we're talking about. And so, I'm not one of the scientism people. Like, I don't adhere to them knowing everything. So that even, I wouldn't even count that as a negative thing, unless we're talking about somebody who's actually delusional. But, I guess that's a matter of opinion. And so then go on to here, we've got fear, anxiety, panic, or paranoia in 82%. And so how I responded to this person was basically saying these sound like the things that are coming up here. I'll just hit the play button for a second. These sorts of things sound like they are detoxing symptoms. So I want to sort of talk about how the body detoxes in a physical sense because it's parallel to how we are detoxing in a spiritual sense. So as a baby, you won't have many diseases normally. You would grow up and things would happen. You would ingest toxins and you would ingest, lots of fatty foods, perhaps, if you're on the standard American diet. And the body would then be storing all this stuff, and you can get a little chubby. You can get a little extra fat in your body. And it's sort of storing these things, these toxins inside of the body because you aren't able to rid yourself. The body goes, after it's like sort of inundated with a bunch of junk, it cannot release it fast enough from the body. So basically, we're ingesting so much crap, we can't actually get rid of it fast enough for many people. And so what happens is the body starts storing it. And the body knows how to sort of place it in limbo where it's not negatively affecting you because it's sort of stored in this fat, but it's not positively affecting you or anything. It's just there, and at some point, it is going to affect you. And once you start to detox, once you actually start to help your body detox and stop ingesting all the negative things that you have been ingesting. Things like meat and dairy and other fatty foods and processed foods in general. After we stop ingesting so much of that stuff that we give our body a time to relax and start to actually go after anything inside and sort of release it, then it sort of breaks apart what's in there. And sometimes you will actually, at least this is how I experienced it, you will actually feel it again. Some people report with the healing crisis that they are actually having a disease or something they had when they were younger. So what may be happening as the body detoxes, now you're going back to having that, extreme flu that knocked you on your feet. And you're going through those symptoms again. That's what healing crisis is. And you can look up more on that online. But basically, we've sort of put layers on ourselves. So if you can imagine yourself like in a fist, and then you put another layer on, and another layer on, and another layer on, and another layer on. And basically what you're doing when you start to detox is you take off the first layer, and then you take off the second layer, and then you take off the third layer, and then you take off the fourth layer. And so it's sort of going backwards from once you had put those layers on there. And that's why once you are detoxing, you'll be dealing with the most recent stuff first. And then you'll start to deal with the very old stuff after a long period of time of detoxing. And so in this case, spiritually speaking, you as a person, again, imagine the fist, and then you add on a layer of emotional damage. So as a child, maybe you felt ignored. And so you add on a layer of, being ignored and not feeling like you matter and everything like that. And then you add on another layer, and you add on another layer of all these different psychological, let's say, problems for now, but it's just stuff. I'm not going to say good or bad. It's just stuff you dealt with. And more layers are added on as you grow older. And as you start to meditate, it can help you to release some of these layers. And in the beginning, it might be small things that are recent, things you're used to. And so it's not going to feel so weird to you. And as you meditate for a longer period of time, now you're getting back into like real childhood damage. I mean, we aren't going to be labeling ourselves as victims, but we do have to understand that we felt bad, or we would not have put up the defense mechanism and locked this thing, whatever it may be, away to deal with another day. We were sort of the reason why when people go to meditate, they have so much stuff to deal with and let go of is because we've been piling this stuff on. And spiritually speaking, we become obese with, these negative thoughts. It's ridiculous. And most people are obese with fear because fear is the basic. It's what everything boils down to, is the only reason you were dealing with whatever issue it was is because you were afraid of something, whether you were afraid of actual physical abuse, mental abuse, if you just felt like you were left alone and nobody cared about you. I mean, that's emotional abuse. But there's a fear to that. You feared that people didn't care about you. You want them to care about you, etc. There's a lot of stuff is based on fear. And that's why we see that when people go into this, what some call the new age or whatever, they have to start dealing with their fear. And if they don't deal with their fear, it can just expand. And actually, this person who did this video, Stephen Bankars, he said he was in the new age and then he got out of it. And now he's promoting this idea that it's demonic and negative. I went to the website. I also saw some stuff on an article about this, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying that there's a perspective that this is all evil when in reality it's a detox. And again, from another parallel, when people eat meat, some people out there will say that I feel really good eating a diet full of meat. I've never felt so healthy before. But in reality, the meat has these hormones and stuff. It sort of gives you adrenaline, and it sort of wakes you up because of everything that the animals have been ingesting, etc., everything they are. And what it does is it's stopping the body because it just sits in the digestive system waiting to be digested, and you never give yourself a chance to actually digest it before you're eating more. And so the body never has time to like really get rid of it and actually expel it. And so you're really stopping your body from detoxing anything. And why it would make you feel so good is because if you were eating an actual healthy diet, your body would be detoxing. And if your body is detoxing, then you have the healing crisis issue where you're actually feeling the stuff that you were ingesting in the past coming back out. And that's why you might get a headache. And headaches are often because you are detoxing. Well, first thing, headaches are often because you don't have enough water, so drink some more water in the first place. But headaches otherwise could be that your body is detoxing and it's released toxins, and those toxins are now being intercepted in your brain and everything, and you're getting a headache. And that's why I've noticed when I go through my detoxing stuff and I know I'm drinking enough water and I have a headache, I will go and take some activated charcoal because that is going in and it combines with the toxins, like almost magnetically just grabs the toxins. Keep drinking water because activated charcoal will actually dry you out and dehydrate you, but it actually will help me with my headaches because that's the reason why, because there were toxins floating around and we needed to get rid of them. So that's the idea, is that once you're actually eating healthy, your body goes into the detoxing state, and then you'll start to have these negative, what they call side effects, or negative, experiences, because you are eating this way. You're eating healthy, and all of a sudden your body is getting yourself more healthy by detoxing and getting rid of the stuff that you've been holding on to. And people will say, well, I feel bad when I eat healthy food, and then I feel good when I eat meat, except they'll call that healthy food. And they'll call fruits and vegetables unhealthy, etc. So if you eat a bunch of meat and then all of a sudden you feel better, it's because your body has stopped the detoxing phase and it's gone back to trying to get rid of what you've put in there, detoxing from the meat basically. And so it's just sort of switched gears, and that's why you feel healthier. So in a sense, you feel better, but you're just piling stuff on and you're just making your body worse rather than actually getting rid of things. We want to be in the new age, this age of the lake of fire that I've talked about on my channel and my website, etc. We want to be getting rid of things. We want to be detoxing spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And people, they start to do that, and then something will come up, like a healing crisis. And oftentimes people going off of meat will experience rage and irritability. I've seen it firsthand, and it's very hard for them to deal with it with their family members and friends, etc. And so sometimes people just go back to eating meat. Some might say that there is a demonic sort of thing going on there, that there's an addiction to meat. And that is part of that. I think there's something to that because, you're ingesting fear. And when your body's trying to get rid of it, it's really difficult sometimes. So yes, you are detoxing when you are meditating, spiritually detoxing. And so things are going to come up, but we need to stop ignoring them and deal with them. If people have depression or grief, etc., re-experiencing traumatic memories, it's because once you have let go and you're actually not in a place of ingesting negative stuff, and you've let go, and now you're in a place of actually detoxing, now it's time to bring these things up. Now these layers are coming off. But when you have this supposedly negative thing, like thoughts, like the rage, the aggression, the, re-experiencing traumatic memories and the depression and anxiety and fear and everything. You have to understand what it is. It's your body going into a spiritual detox, and you need to understand it and let it go and let it pass. Take care of yourself. Don't just, and you can do it slowly. You don't have to go through everything at the speed of light. There are people, and I would suggest this, if you're eating meat, to go off gradually. Don't just, if you can just stop cold turkey, then that's great. But, there is a benefit to going gradually. There's a benefit to going gradually through this transformation and always praying for help through these things. But what happens, instead of praying for help through these things and instead of just understanding it for what it is, people, they get afraid. And then they start saying there's something wrong with meditation. Just like I said, the people say there's something wrong with eating fruits and vegetables because I feel bad when I eat them. Well, there's nothing wrong with eating fruits and vegetables. That was the original diet back in Eden. There's nothing wrong with eating them. It's just that when you eat them, your body is getting rid of stuff, and then you have to let it go. You have to go through that period of detoxing. It's not always pleasant, but it's the process. It's like the lake of fire, as I said in my article. It feels rough at times, sometimes, for the fire, as I explain in my article, it's basically the bronze basin of the Old Testament, where the priests would go and get themselves cleansed. And you need to be cleansed. And you can also relate it to trying metal in the fire, which the Bible often does. And all the impurities, think of yourself as gold with impurities, and the impurities are sins and things you have to get rid of. You got to be tried in the fire, and this is the fire. We're here, lake of fire right now. You got to be tried in the fire, and the impurities are coming out through this fire, and as soon as you let them go, as soon as you detox from them, you're going to become pure. That's the whole point. We're here, we're trying to get pure and let this stuff come out of us so that we're pure like our Father in heaven is pure. But what happens is people get afraid and then they stop and they sort of get stuck or get worse because now they're really stuck on fear. And, I can't even relate to the fear anymore that's in this video about meditation. It's just ridiculous to me. Our Father is perfect love, and perfect love drives out fear. And the more you become like him, the more the fear just seems so far gone, you can't even relate to it anymore. So I just wanted to give my experiences and thoughts, I guess, about this. Is I understand that, yes, fear is going to come up. And I'm not saying that fear is just gone from me completely, because, people even recently come up with things that, like, hey, what if you do this, right? And immediately there's thoughts of, well, can I do that? Like being afraid. But the thing is, we can do anything we put our minds to. And the Father's inside of us. And obviously, we're not going to do the negative things that people think that people are going to do. If you have any questions, you just ask me. But specifically speaking, everything that the Christians are worried about with the New Age and meditation and all this stuff and the law of attraction, it's just not true. There's nothing to fear about it. And it's not against God. In fact, Christ actually talks about it basically. And it's just pure faith, prayers of pure faith. And nobody is going to pray for negative things for other people. They're going to love everybody as themselves. And that's who everybody is at the heart of everything. Everybody else is detoxing. And so I'm not going to be pointing fingers and saying this person's doing something wrong and this person's doing something wrong. Just so past judging people. And that's another thing that this video is all about, is like judgmental, that there's something wrong with it. And I know he's just probably trying to help people. And you know what? I'm trying to help people too. So if you're wondering what my perspective is on why people would have these sort of negative effects from meditation, this is it. It's the stuff that we all have inside of us, and we're detoxing and letting it go and becoming pure as gold tried in the fire. And by not meditating because you're afraid of it, it's basically causing you to be more at a standstill from detoxing. And in fact, you might start actually gaining fear, which is kind of just making you even more obese with this negative spiritual stuff. So we're supposed to be trying to get fit physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's what I'm trying to do. And I have no intention of being afraid of something that has actually turned my life around. And Christ said, you will know it by its fruit. And so take one person who was in the New Age and then they stopped meditating because they think it's demonic. And he's pushing this whole thing about fear, that you have something to fear if you meditate. Whereas perfect love drives out fear. And here I am after I've meditated. And what am I doing? I am sharing with you how beneficial meditation has been for my life. So a year ago is basically when I hurt my back and my neck, and I sort of like spent a lot of time relaxing and listening to Abraham Hicks. And then I really started to meditate, and I was still transcribing and making less than minimum wage last year at this time. However, at this point, things are really booming for me. I'm really getting stuff done, and I have projects I'm working on to be able to maybe put on my website to sell. And, I've got my Simply Truth or Talk, where I talk to people. And I've got so many things going on right now, selling CBD oil, etc., that sort of thing. I've got like so much stuff going on, and it's really exciting. And I just want to be able to help people. And when you're stuck in that fear perspective, you don't get to help people as much as you could. And what is the fruit am I showing to people? I'm showing people how our Father changed my life around. Whereas this person is saying you've got to be afraid. Whereas perfect love drives out fear. So no, you don't have to be afraid of things. And pushing fear into people is not beneficial to the whole. It's really not. It's really just not beneficial. And I want to do the beneficial thing. So I am sharing this stuff. You can watch the video if you want to. Feel free. I don't really suggest hanging around people who push fear. That's just my opinion, but whatever, it's there. But I wanted to share this perspective of why somebody would experience some negative things. And if you do meditate, and if something does come up and you want to talk to me about it, feel free to leave a comment. You can email me through my website or set up a session where I actually get to talk to you on the phone. I can talk to you about this. You don't have to be afraid. There's going to be specific things to specific people. Like somebody would experience pain. I do believe all pain in the body is related to something spiritually going on. And so there's things that people are dealing with. Like I said, the Father will sort of take off layer upon layer as you are finally relaxing and letting him do his work. And you'll only get to the really deep stuff after you've gotten through the shallow things. So, if you ever need help, I'm here. So I'm just saying that. And I just think that it's more detrimental to say that you should be afraid of having what I would consider detox symptoms. It's basically the equivalent of saying continue to eat meat, even though it's just creating disease in your body because, you won't have to go through the detoxing symptoms. And I guess it's sort of equivalent to saying keep going to the doctor, when a problem comes up, rather than deal with why do you keep having this problem. You know, why do you keep catching colds or something? I think that there's a spiritual reason for that. But I mean, I'm just saying that there is some sort of reason why it keeps happening. And don't just keep going to the doctor to get a band-aid for something. We want to deal with the cause, the root causes, and meditation can help you deal with the root causes rather than ignore them and just look at the shallow things. And fear is shallow, you know. I mean, it's also very deep because everything really comes from fear at the heart of it, I think, all these negative problems. And there's really nothing to fear. And I'm really working through that too, always, constantly. But I know that every time I take a leap of faith in my life, things work out. Fear is just the absence of faith. And that's really all it is. Because like this being afraid of meditation is like not having enough faith that our Father would put something so dangerous, you know, into our lives. That's just ridiculous. He wouldn't do that. He's watching over every single thing and taking care of us all along the way. I'm really not afraid of that stuff anymore. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Do with it what you will. I don't really care. If you want to meditate, meditate. If you don't want to meditate, don't meditate.
Chris White once coined the phrase short-term New World Order freakout syndrome to explain what it's like to have your perception of the world shattered. Of course, it's not just about the shape of the world, whether it's flat, round, or something else entirely. This New World Order freakout often includes now saying no to GMOs, fluoride, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. It's a complete overhaul to your lifestyle. And trying to explain that mainstream media is just propaganda to promote false flags, division, and more can really put a strain on your relationships. Have you gotten tired of being mocked by your own family for what you share? We've all been there. Are you treated like the black sheep because of the commandments you keep? I get it. We're all trying to figure things out together, but sometimes you just have to let your family and friends be. Plant the seed and wait and see. But while you wait for them to catch up, do you wish you had someone to talk with who gets it? That's what Truth or Talk is for. Being able to discuss what's going on in your life and what you're interested in without feeling like you're going to be judged as a crazy conspiracy theorist who should be on drugs or committed. No subject is taboo, and I'd love to hear from you. Simply truthertalk.com. Simply make an appointment, and let's talk, Truther.
Believe